Hello everybody, thank you for coming. I'm just going to do a short set tonight because I'm preparing for a gig that I have on Monday. You may know there is a big Extinction Rebellion event, 100,000 people expected in central London this weekend, over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. On Monday I am performing some stand-up about climate change on a stage in front of 2,000 people after one of the founders of Extinction Rebellion. This is the opening line I'm going to attempt. Hey, it's great to be here. I've never been to a protest before, but isn't it convenient when you have them in cities? Great for parking. My bike, obviously, is my sort of get out of jail. No, okay, fine. I won't rely on bike. That's all right. I'm going to continue testing the material with you. I'm going to say, this is so lovely to be here and something really different for me, because most of my venues have the word chuckle in the title, not the word extinction. I don't know if that's a high enough percentage, not to worry. What I'm concerned about really is that I've spent the last year and a half hacking around Britain doing material about the climate, which has become increasingly obsessed with it, as many of you in this room may know. And I've been doing that in loads of different places, kind of in Friday night chicken in a basket comedy clubs, trying to sort of make them eat it, even though they don't, not the chicken, the climate stuff. Even though really they're just out to have a good time and they don't want to be reminded about all the, you know. And what I worry is that I've got some quite good material now for like mainstream comedy clubs, but I'm going to be performing to an incredibly switched on climate researched crowd. I'm going to be like the comedy version of the band Idols. I only half understand that, but the DJ Gareth told me to say it before I went on. I think it was good try. The biggest fear I have is that performing to an incredibly socially conscious crowd, which I've got no problem with. I just don't know. I mean, I live in Bristol here, which is pretty socially conscious, as I can tell from all of your slightly unimpressed eye contact to this. I think many of you are still recovering from the parking joke. I came here by Voy, by the way, or as my friend calls them, Voix. So that's not going to fly there, is it? This data's pointless. But what I'm worried about in performing to an audience that are already on board with climate change, if they're particularly socially conscious, then the socially conscious left, they're not really known for their appreciation of irony. So I may have to set up this next joke by pointing out that the punchline is something I'm saying which has a meaning other than the apparent meaning. All right? Let's give this a go. One of the biggest fears I have about the climate is that we've been doing so many terrible things since way before any of us were born that we're just used to, and we just keep doing them, and now we know they're doing something terrible, but it seems too late to stop. For example, give you an example, glitter. Harmless, happy, friendly, fun times glitter. What is it really? It's microplastics. You take it to a festival, you put glitter on your face, at the end of the festival you wipe it off, you throw it in the bin, but there is no bin, not really, you're throwing it in the sea, the big blue bin. And then the microplastics go down to the seabed, and the fish eat them, and they get in the food, they get in the breast milk. I don't know who's breastfeeding fish, but apparently they're and we end up down the line with all of our insides laminated because of glitter. Harmless, friendly, cheerful glitter. Turns out the gay community are destroying the world, just not in the way we've been led to believe. Silicone. I think people in the audience who are my age or above will probably remember about 15 years ago when the utensils in our kitchen suddenly switched, seemingly overnight, from being made of wood and metal, wood of course biodegradable, metal very easily recyclable. Suddenly they're all made of silicone. Brightly coloured, yellow potato mashers and blue egg whisks and bright blue a third thing. And that's Andy Kinder, I can't say that. But they all transformed overnight. And everyone was like, well, these are amazing. They're heat resistant. They last forever. They do last forever. They don't biodegrade for 1,000 years. So the legacy we're leaving our children is this Earth, a cold ball of rock spinning alone in space, covered with mountains of spatulas and dildos. Graveyards filled with tits. Turns out the transgender community are just... Can you handle one more gag about plastics? There's a thing called resin ID, right? The resin ID code is the triangle of arrows that you see on plastics. What does it mean? Not much. Very good fucking Bristol. This is the problem I'm going to have at the extent. It's a resin ID code, and it doesn't mean recyclable. No, but you know what? It doesn't mean recyclable. There are 8 types of plastic in common domestic and commercial use. Only 2 of them are recyclable. So those 2 had the resin ID triangle put on them to say these are recyclable. But big plastic got involved and said, no, we don't want people to stop using plastic. Let's make it mandatory that that stamp has to go on all the types of plastic with a number inside it that will refer to whether it's one of the recyclable types or not, right? So they hid in plain sight by putting the symbol on everything. Now, to me, that's a bit like it being the law that whenever you move to a new area, you have to knock on everyone's door and tell them you may or may not be a sex offender. Hello? Yeah, I just wanted to pop over and say, we've all made mistakes. Okay, bye. And the other thing that concerns me, and one of the things is I might be preaching to the converted, and I have actually had that accusation levelled at me. I did a gig recently, not far from here, in a place called Bradford-upon-Avon. I'm sure, but it's not going to mean anything to anyone else. An elderly couple walked out of my gig 5 minutes before the end. An elderly couple walked out of the show, and I didn't hear it at the time, but apparently what they were saying to the promoter was they were grumbling, saying, he is a preacher. We didn't come here to be preached at. He's a preacher. Now, perhaps they would deny it. Fair enough. I consider myself a man of science, although if I'm putting a half-empty bottle of fizzy wine in the fridge, I will pop a spoon in the top. I don't know why. I'll tap a tin can twice before I open it. I'm a man of science. But if the batteries on my remote control seem to have run out, I'll roll them and then turn it 3 times Widdershins and bury it under a crossroad. I'm a man of science, that's my point. So they walked out and they said, oh, he's a preacher. I thought maybe they'd deny it. I mean, they were very, very elderly, so it does look like they've taken advantage of some science in their life. I don't really think you can cherry-pick the hip and the statins and ignore the global scientific consensus, but you do you. They said he's a preacher, and that's absolutely not true. I am the opposite of a preacher. A preacher has done a huge amount of research into something I personally don't believe in, whereas I have done almost no research into something that is a scientific fact. I'll be honest with you, I was trying that. I think that's funnier. If I have to say, a preacher's done a huge amount of research into something that's clearly made up. And I was trying to say a softer version of it, and you didn't laugh as much. So really, that's on you.